Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Rational Talks podcast. Today, we have a special surprise guest. But before I introduce to you, I'll just leave a word for our sponsors. Construction DPE. Construction DPE for all your renovation, landscaping, and construction needs. Construction DPE is the company to call. For all your construction needs, don't hesitate. Call Construction DPE. So, all right, guys, today I'm very proud to have on as a guest former captain of the Montreal Impact and one of the two inaugural inductees to their Wall of Fame, Nevio Pizzolitto. Nevio spent 11 years on the Impact with small stints in Italy and the USL Richmond Kickers. He also represented his country when playing for Canada on the international scene. So excited for him to tell his story on my podcast. Everybody, welcome to Nevio Pizzolitto. Hi, Nevio.
Hi, Costa. How are you, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'd like to first off thank give you gratitude and thank you for coming on the podcast. It's really appreciated.
Oh,
Should
it's
be a
my
fun
pleasure. It's my
conversation.
pleasure. Whenever I can talk soccer, it's an absolute pleasure.
All right, so let's not waste any time. Let's dive right in. I'd like you to tell us how, when growing up in Montreal as a young kid, how did you fall in love with the game of soccer?
I guess it had to be through my dad's influence. My dad actually came from Italy when he was about 13 years old. Went to school here, high school at that point, and then started playing soccer in the semi-pro leagues. Back in the day, which were actually quite good leagues here in Montreal area. They had a lot of tight rivalries between the Greeks, the Italians, the Portuguese, and also against Toronto teams. It was actually a decent level of competition. My dad was a player. He played. He was one of the all-stars of that league. He scored lots of goals. He was a forward. And then he started coaching my brother and I when we were younger. Once he stopped playing and started to get to work, and yeah, that's where you start falling in love with the game. Just the ambiance, the people around you, your friends that would come to the field with you, and your friends that you met at the field that you wouldn't normally see in and around school. So yeah, it started with that influence for sure. And then as you get older, you just kind of it's kind of hard not to love this game.
Oh yes, that's why they call it the beautiful game for a reason, right?
Absolutely,
uh,
absolutely.
did you because when you were growing up, I guess we're maybe a bit of difference in age, but maybe not too much. Talk about 5-6 years.
Yeah.
It was really harder back then to catch European soccer on television.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we had to build our love for the game through, like you said, your father, our parents,
Yeah.
maybe through international tournaments because we used to catch the Euros and the World Cup.
World Cup.
But then once you start playing right away, you fall in love with it.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
for sure.
when it started become a bit more competitive for you, we'll say what, around 12, 13 years old?
I would say no. I know the exact age. Around 15 years old. That was.
Okay.
Or maybe even 14, because I was. That's when the Quebec selections started.
Oh, okay. What they call elite, right? Quebec
Yeah,
elite.
the Quebec elite that would play in a provincial, nationwide tournament against every province, and usually from those tournaments, the national team gets finds their players for the under 16 and under 17 World Cup qualifying and World Cup. So at 14 years old, when I actually tried at a younger age to make a higher jump. So I was 14 or 13 and a half trying to make the under 15s.
Oh.
I didn't make the first year. They were telling me not to worry, it's not your age group. So we came back the next year. I did very well. I got on that team. And then we started that tournament. The tournament was held at McMaster University down in Hamilton.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we would have every province. We had three games to get out of your group, and then play the semifinals and finals. So on that first year, the Quebec, we got into the gold medal game. We won the silver medal, and from there I got chosen to the under-16 tryout camp, which where they had the Eastern tryout camp and a Western for the Western kids. And yeah, I was one of the only Quebecers to make that team.
This in this period that you're talking about, was this more of playing for the Quebec selection, or because from the research I've done preparing for this podcast, I read that you played for Sporting Patriot, right?
Yes, exactly. So Sporting Patriot was our league team. We had
okay.
we had a fantastic team actually. Throughout the years, we actually just got stronger and stronger when we merged with the Portuguese side sporting club.
Oh,
Yeah, it just brought a whole new level to our because we were Notre Dame de Patriot de la
okay.
Consolata, so near Papineau, Villeray area. Then we ended up merging with the Sporting, the Portuguese side, that was located in Saint Laurent, near Rachel area. So we kind of got the best Portuguese players and the best either Italians or mixed players that we had on our team. And we ended up forming an unbelievable team, which was actually coached by my dad and the late, great Gerardo Tangredi, who just passed away. Yeah, his son played with us. He was the goalie, played with me with the Impact as well. We're still great friends today. He was doing great work in RDP at a point. So yeah,
so that's where the name Sporting Patriot came about, from the merger of both teams.
From the merger, exactly. And we actually, I always thought we had at least 3 to 4 to 5 guys on our team that could make the Quebec Select and maybe even the national team.
Wow!
But again, it comes down to the people at the Quebec, looking at everyone and they made some cuts. And there was only a couple of us from my team who was able to join that Quebec Select squad and get chosen for the national team. So
how was the aspect at that age, which is a very important age for development, 14, 15, 16 years old?
Yeah.
How was actually the development part of it, the practices?
Yeah.
Were the coaches, were they well adapted to develop young players at that age?
Not as no. I would say no, not as we are today.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we got together for a camp of 3 days to get the team, just to get the team chosen.
Okay.
So they did one in the West Coast, one in the East Coast. So that was 2 weekends, and then putting the team together. We maybe stayed together for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks maximum at McMaster University. While we would play exhibition games, train twice a day, work extremely hard to get to our fitness level way up as well. And I would say maybe about a month in all altogether. And then we were thrown out into the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, which we actually did very well. We came, I believe, second, and we qualified for the Japan World Cup in '93.
You ended up playing in that World Cup, right?
We ended up getting destroyed, but
that must have been still a fun experience, though.
Yeah, absolutely great experience, but also does come back to, like you were saying, the lack of preparation. Because even though we qualified, we all, after that tournament in CONCACAF, we all kind of went back to our own homes, our own club teams, kept playing in our club teams. And then when we got the call, we maybe stayed about a month again together, the team, to prepare to go to Japan. We never played any international games. We didn't play
friendlies, nothing for preparation.
No, we played some friendlies, but we're against local teams, like local from Ontario, some from Vancouver. So when we got there, it was a big shock. We played Nigeria, I believe it was the first game. We lost 5-0 or 7-0. One of the two. I want to forget that game. But then we lost to Australia and Argentina 5-0 and 4-0, something along those lines as well. So
you lost all 3 games in the group stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a great experience. It opened your eyes to what's around you. what you need to do to get better, how much more you need to get better. So yeah, it was, and like you said, it's not as accessible as today. Whereas you kind of look into these things, you go, you go on the internet to kind of find out past experiences. You kind
Yeah.
of get a visual of what's going on. But back then, it was like trying to find a Serie A game. You would go walk to the bar, or go with your dad to the bar just to watch the game,
Yeah.
because nobody else is showing it. So at that time, nobody else was showing the World Cup level, the talent level. So
That caliber. Yeah.
yeah, so it was really hard to figure out where you are,
Yeah. To see where you stand, right? Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was a great experience to kind of give you a good forefront on what to achieve in the future.
Do you think maybe at that time, because Soccer Canada maybe didn't have the resources to put into the development
Yeah,
that they have now, that they've concentrated in the last maybe decade, putting
yeah,
money into development, maybe that was missing in the players back then.
100%. Yeah, it was missing. Thank God, along the ways that the Canada soccer's gotten better, the men's and the women's team, to generate some more sponsorships, and start the ball rolling. And this happened, I would say, about 10 to 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now is getting a lot better.
Well, hopefully with the possibility of Canada hosting a few games in the 2026 World Cup,
Yeah,
and maybe woke them up a bit, saying, "Listen, we got to put money in this.
yeah,
We don't want to embarrass ourselves at home, right?" So,
yeah,
and now we're starting to see the Alfonso Davies and
yeah,
these guys, the
yeah.
resources of academies being
Being
made
built,
through
yeah.
Canada, being
The
built through Canada.
CPL,
Exactly.
the Canadian Professional League, is starting.
Yes, that's
Starting
the
as well.
CPL is very important. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so,
I think
if that
so.
can grow, it'd be, because let's be honest, it's very hard for a local or Canadian player to to get starting spots in the MLS teams, in the MLS
Oh yeah,
club.
yeah,
With the salary caps and the expectations of returns. A lot of times people are going with bigger names that produce results.
yeah.
So
Be-
these are fantastic opportunities for these players to keep playing. Because if not, we will actually be in a downward spiral.
yeah,
From the
because
progress we
you
make.
can develop, and you could have academies like most of the three Canadian teams in the MLS do.
Yeah,
But when they have no more space for them in the academy and they turn 18,
yeah,
the coach in the first division MLS, he's there to win.
yeah.
So if he thinks that the 18-year-old maybe might be a problem, a liability for him to win, he won't
Of
play him.
course.
And kids at that age, 18-year-olds,
Yeah,
have to play.
yeah,
That's the critical time for them to
yeah.
develop, is at that age. So they need to play. That's
Absolutely.
why the CPL comes in very good hand to
Yeah,
have them continue the development.
yeah. And it's a fantastic option because it's ours, right? It's Canadian. Like
Yeah,
when I was back in our league, it was okay, maybe a little bit better than the CPL now, but the USL, right? So we
yeah,
were kind of handcuffed to the US, the US rules and the way
yeah,
they operate and the travel and the marketing. So the CPL is huge for us to build a local, like a local stamp on this game and have a culture. Start building a
yeah.
culture. Like who is Canada? What are we about? Are we a strong defensive team? Are we?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do we want to play? Do we? Can we run
What's
with
our
the
identity?
best of
Yeah,
them? Yeah,
yeah. That is okay. So now you've gone to Japan to live a bit of the U17 World Cup experience. So now you come back and you're starting to reach that age where, okay, now it's professional teams looking for
yeah,
you. And so at that point, you have some decisions to make also in your development and in your career.
yeah,
So from then on, from that moment, from the Japan World Cup
yeah,
to going to being recruited by the Impact,
yeah.
how did that time period go by for you?
Yeah, that was actually an exciting time, a very nerve-wracking time to see, because you give a kid, well, there's a possibility now to do something, and then you're telling your kid, what are you going to do? so,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's thank God. I have to give a lot of credit to Valerio Pizzola, the second Impact coach back in the day. He was an assistant coach with the U17 national team. He was going to be the coach of the Impact. He spoke to me, talking to me. He gave me the facts, like, because I was at that age to either go into a scholarship in the U.S., which some teams, some colleges were interested, or start pro at 18 years old.
Oh,
Okay, that was my dilemma. And speaking with Val, we both he made me understand that the best level of soccer is at that pro level, not at
mm,
the
the
at
college
the
level.
college level. Okay, yes, you go to the college level, you do well, you get a degree, you have something concrete when if something goes wrong. He also put it in my mind that, listen, you can still play pro and do some schooling here in Montreal. Like,
True
there's
that.
nothing wrong with that. So that's what kind of, looking at the bigger picture, I felt that to get better quicker, to put my name, to maybe make a real career out of this, to sign here in Montreal, to play with the best players, and continue my education as much as I could have, and also be at home with your family.
Yeah, which
It's
that weighs a
you're a
lot
big,
into the decision too.
yeah. It's look. There was people also later on after. Maybe I could continue on afterwards, but like people were saying, "Why don't you go to Italy?" And as a foreigner, because I was a Canadian, I didn't have my
Mm.
Italian passport. To get my Italian passport, I would have needed to do 10 months of Italian military. And so
Wow.
these are all things that came into play. And it's like, do I really want to do that, to risk, a Canadian defender to play in Italy?
Yeah.
It's a whole lifestyle change. And to me, the choice to go play pro here in Montreal was, it was exciting because it was kind of new. The Impact was growing.
Yeah.
We wanted to make a name for ourselves here in North America. So yeah, that was all these bits and pieces put together was the main reasons that I ended up signing here at 18.
So when you joined the Impact, it was their first or it was their second season,
I
right?
believe the second, yes.
Yeah, second season.
94. Yeah. In
Yeah.
93 they started. They won. We won in 94. I was training with the team. I got like a practice contract. I was still playing with Sporting Patriots at that
Oh,
point. That was actually the year that we won the Canadian Nationals with the Sporting Patriots.
oh,
We won the Quebec Cup, went to the Nationals in Halifax, and we ended up winning the whole thing. So yeah, it was
wow.
like just exciting times of winning and doing well, and the Impact was growing and trying to put people in the stands at Claude Robillard. Starting with 5,000 people, 4,000 people,
Yeah.
and then growing, as you know, to a great
How
division.
how was the ambiance? I've been to a few games. I remember as a young kid, I went to my dad
Yeah.
to watch the FC Supra.
Yeah.
But then later on, I went more as a teenager to watch the Impact.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the
Yeah.
atmosphere at San Claude Robillard. It was
Yeah.
cozy, it was small, and when it was packed, it was a good
It was
atmosphere
loud.
for to
Yeah.
play in.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the only thing, it was a great stadium. It still is.
Hmm.
The only thing, like, the market to kind of sell the game was that there is a big, huge 400-meter track around the field.
Yes, yeah.
And then you have another, say, 30, maybe 20 to 30 yards until you hit the fence.
Mhm.
And then another 10 yards, and then your grandstands start.
So the
So
fans are not as
the
close.
fans
Yeah.
were a bit further away from the field and the action, but I know exactly what you mean. There was a good feeling around there. The whole complex itself, it's a fantastic place. And yeah, the best memories were there. We had the greatest weight gyms. We had the pool. We had the saunas in there.
Yeah,
So
there was
yeah,
everything there. I
yeah,
remember I played there in the 30 they used to do a tournament back in the day. It's called the 36
yeah.
hours
This
indoor.
is on. Yeah,
Yeah, and I remember playing there, and they have a good facility.
yeah.
It's good for the young people to have that
Oh, absolutely,
infrastructure.
extremely important. Yeah.
Um, so you just finished saying that you basically were just training with the team on
The
that first
first year, yeah,
championship.
because I was still playing with my sporting team. I wasn't allowed, if I would have played one game, I would have been allowed to play
For
with my
Sporting
league.
Patriots.
So they
Mm.
kind of said, listen, just play your league. We want you to play. You're going to train with us every day. So I would train with them every day at 4 o'clock, and then train mostly with them. Not as much with my team, but I still went with my team. And then I played all my league games. So I wouldn't lose at least my conditioning and game fitness and practice fitness they're two completely different
Oh yes.
things. So yeah, it
You
was
can
just
you can keep your fitness practicing, but your game shape they call,
yeah,
right, is always hard to
yeah. You
achieve
need
just
I
by
always
practicing.
need at least 3 real games to start feeling good. It's
To get
it's
that
important.
chemistry too with your
Yeah,
teammates too. It's
yeah,
hard to
yeah.
build just by practicing.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so then those first years, basically 1995, those first 5 years in the Impact,
Yeah,
where you're learning the ropes, right? You're paying your dues.
yeah,
You're you're obviously playing a lot because you've accumulated quite a few minutes in the USL.
yeah,
So you obviously already were playing a lot. So how was that as a young kid playing with basically 25, 26, 27 year olds,
yeah, yeah. Very nerve
learning
wracking.
the ropes? How was
Yeah.
that?
Well, look, obviously, there's certain things you become if you want to succeed. Especially in a team environment, you learn to pull your own weight. You learn to be respectful. You learn to be to kind of pay your dues. The rookie is the rookie. He doesn't talk. He listens. He's there first. He works hard. He's not there to hurt anyone. He's there to play hard. So that's what I did. And between 18 or let's say 19, the next season after that until 21, I didn't play, I wasn't a starter, but I would get games here and there in, and it was important to be thrown into the situations because you need to know the pressure,
Mm.
and you need to fail sometimes as well.
Oh yeah.
So it was a fine line of knowing how sharp you have to be at all times. It keeps you extremely sharp. And again, you build confidence when you do well. You get in a game for 15 minutes, nothing bad happens. You played 3 good balls, you won 3 headers, you did your job. You maybe give one bad pass, nothing happened, no problem. Then the next game, you get a start and everything goes well. And at the end of the game, instead of kicking the ball out of bounds, I made a pass back to the keeper.
You build that
With,
confidence, yeah.
yeah, so yeah, you just build and you learn, and you have to stay humble. You have to be willing to work and sacrifice, and that's the only way you build your character.
Because at that time you still had some at your position, the Impact still had some pretty iconic Impact players playing in that
Yeah,
position. Just not to mention Nick DeSantis,
yeah,
which was an icon of the Impact. So
yeah,
it must be like, okay, I want that role,
yeah.
but I got to prove myself first,
Of
So
course. But also, you learn how, since you're playing with these guys every day, training and watching on the bench, watching them play at the highest speed, you learn.
yeah.
Okay, like I was learning from John Liniadis, one of the best
Oh yes.
sweepers in Canadian history. How calm he was on the ball made me calmer on the ball
Hmm.
at a later time when I felt more comfortable with the ball. Okay, I always thought to him how he would just have enough time with one simple touch to put it
Hmm.
one way or another at the right time. You open up so much time and space, and then when you're good on the ball, you make good passes and you release the attack.
Hmm.
So there was guys like him, but there was Trichu, a U.S. national team player, Pat Diat, Rudy
Yeah.
Dolescat. Guys like these were, they were machines. They were good on the ball, and you just learn from each one. Pat was the best guy to shut down an opponent.
Hmm.
Okay, so you learn how good he does certain things. Rudy was smart to create space and get back and play good balls, and John with his skills as well. So you're learning from 4 or 5 different guys, and it's the right way to learn.
Yeah,
You're learning from
you're picking up everybody's qualities and
yeah,
trying to make them your own. Yeah.
yeah. Because even if you have the best coach in the world, he can't show you the game as well as other players could show you the game.
Yeah.
Because he could tell you where to go, what to do. Even if he played at the highest level, you're not playing at that point. You're not showing him live,
Exactly. Yeah.
So, so that decision with Valerio and I back at 18 years old, it ended up being a great one, because from there I stayed on to all the national teams, the under 19s, the Olympic teams, the Francophone Games teams, then the men national team. So yeah, I grew into I would think a solid player that was reliable, and things worked out.
So, as that time is passing, when did you start seeing that you're starting to make your place in the starting 11, and that you deserve to have your minutes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say around 90, say 99, 2000, 98, 99, 2000, not 99. I would say I was getting older. I was like 22.
Who was the coach at the time?
Uh, you're bringing it back now.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, my God, you got a brain freeze. I can't. I think Valerio was still there.
Yeah, because I know he stayed a few years, so it's very
No,
possible that he was still there.
I
Yeah.
believe Valerio was still there with Francis Millien. No, it was still Val,
Mhm.
but I wasn't 18 anymore. I was about 21. And then
Mhm.
at that point, it was like, okay, we're going to give this guy a better contract, because money wasn't that great
No.
either back then. We're going to give him a 6-month, because that was the season, a 6-month contract. And then if you were at that age and you were good enough, you would play indoor soccer, professional
Yeah,
indoor soccer in the States, or Montreal had a team for a certain bit.
for a bit. Yeah.
So you would compensate both seasons and make a career out of it.
Some
So,
players actually had like regular jobs during the winter too.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's some guys were more fortunate than others. The starters were, getting paid a lot better if there was actually a win bonus at the time.
Oh,
So these guys, if when they were winning, they were making a full extra paycheck
oh.
on the win, on a tie as well. You'd make some money.
So
So
incentives, basically
yeah,
based
yeah,
contracts.
incentives were great for the players. Those were the years that they did very well. It wasn't as good for the ownership,
Hmm.
which kind of faded out because it was hard to manage and hard to budget, especially
Yeah.
at the beginning. So and again, it got better, but you have to go through these hard knocks, right? You have to
Yeah,
go
of
through
course.
these learning experiences, and like I said, you grew this team out of nothing, really.
Well,
So
yeah, it was when they bought it and they formed the Impact. It was basically out of to create an identity, and the fans really like get behind this team. I guess
sure,
winning a championship early on in its franchise history helps out a lot too,
sure,
obviously.
sure,
Um, but moving on, so now you're getting into your minutes, you're playing your time, you're getting on the starting 11 more often. Then comes October 99, which is your first call up to the national team, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me
yeah,
if I'm wrong.
I believe so. Yes.
And it was against Haiti. You remember that game?
Yes, I do remember that game. I did get a call up against Jamaica. They called
Oh,
it. It was a friendly game, but Haiti was a tournament game. So that we kind of we always kind of stuck to that.
okay, I understand. But how was that thing when you got the phone call? We're calling you up to the senior team. Represent your country. We need you. That must be like a proud
Fantastic
moment, huh?
feeling. Fantastic feeling. Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, I mean, but listen, it was just as exciting to make the U under 16 when I got the call that I'd get reinvited to camp. So it's every next step as a player is it's so gratifying and so exciting that it was a bit unexpected because there's players back then. A lot of the players were taken from the European teams, players that were playing in
Mm,
Europe. The coaching mentality was I could rely on these guys. They're playing at a higher level than people in North America. So if they're playing at a higher level there, then it's an easier decision to secure my job, right?
Yeah.
If I'm putting a team on the field. So, but yeah, once they started looking into North America a lot more, yeah, I was ecstatic. It was a great honor for me, for my whole family, actually.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
just thinking about the possibility of representing my country in no matter what sport is
yeah,
already huge. I could only
yeah,
imagine the feeling of getting that call,
yeah.
um, and playing with certain players that go on like Paul
Paul Terry,
Stalteri,
yeah,
Jason DeVos.
yeah.
I always
Dwayne De
forget.
Rosario,
Right, yeah, Dwayne De Rosario,
yeah,
Steve Nash's brother. I always forget his first
yeah.
name.
Marty Nash, of course,
Yes,
too.
Martin Nash, Hutchinson.
Yeah,
So these are like for your period of time. These are like
the top.
names that are known for people that
Yeah,
follow soccer in Canada. So you get there, you play with them. It's a fun experience. It's like it's galvanizing. You're playing
yeah,
for your country. You're having fun, and at the same time, you got called up, sir. So it gives you motivation to keep working hard and things
exactly.
snowball and continuing because you're still
Yeah,
a young player at that time.
yeah.
So it gives you motivation to keep on working hard and trying to go forward in your career.
Absolutely. And again, especially important, especially because at that point also the money wasn't a factor, right?
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
meaning it was a factor, meaning that you're not making much money.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you're going home thinking to yourself, is this what I should be doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So, yeah. And that's why, I relate back to the academy and the CPL and for younger players in the academy to keep playing at a high level because once you hit a wall and you don't see that you'll be able to climb it, like what are my options? It gets very demoralizing, and people just get turned off.
Yeah. You start doubting yourself, asking
Yeah,
questions, and for a developing player, that's the worst you can do.
yeah,
You start questioning yourself. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It is important. So okay, so now you come back from this first international senior team stint, and now you continue on your adventure with the Impact, and you're playing more minutes. You're playing almost every game at this point. You're becoming basically the rock in the back of this team. And then I want to know the experience and that team of 2004 because that was probably
Yeah,
maybe one of the strongest teams you were on during
yeah.
your stint.
One of the stronger teams. Yeah, obviously one of the strongest teams, but probably the most fun.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, the absolutely most fun was in 2004. And if you talk to any old player, they'll tell you the same thing because the guys we had so many local guys, Moro, Sandro, Gabe, Pat Leduc, Adam Braz, there was Jason DeTulio around. We had so many guys that, and we were a group that never won, right?
Mhm.
And it was the first time we won, and it was. Yeah, it was fantastic that the Cordova Yard was a sellout. People were sitting on the grass.
Yeah, I
It was
remember that.
just yeah, an unbelievable experience. Probably the best time of my life. It was at a great age, and
Because if
yeah,
I'm not mistaken, you guys went. You guys only suffered. I thought I had it in my notes, but I can't find it here. But I know you guys didn't suffer many goals at home that whole season.
yeah, we were fantastic, especially in the back
Hmm.
with Gabriel Gervais, myself, Mauricio Vicello, Adam Braz. We were a very
Mm.
solid forward back with Greg Sutton behind us.
Yes,
It was fantastic. We had Sandro in front of us. We had an excellent team. Guys like Eddie up front, Joel Bailey, who I met in Cleveland, a Trinidadian guy that just always smiling. It was just a good group. Antonio Ribeiro, like a good group of guys, all going for the same cause. But it was something special because of the connection of the group, I believe.
yeah. I was gonna say maybe the atmosphere in the locker room was so great because maybe you had so many homegrown players
Yeah,
that you felt a certain we say in French appartenance to the club because you're from there and it
yeah,
got the fans
yeah,
behind your identity too. So it must have been fun playing game after game, winning game after game, performing game after game, having that atmosphere. Must have been such a fun season to play in.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Those were the best times of my life. I absolutely believe it.
Sorry. So that championship, and meanwhile, we can talk about a bit. You guys back then, maybe it wasn't as strong as it is now or as it's been in the last 10 years, but you guys are also winning year after year. You guys are winning the Canadian Championship, which back then was the Voyageurs Cup.
Voyageurs Cup, yeah.
And you guys are also winning there. Maybe with not as much incentive for winning it, because now you win it, you get a chance to go to the Champions League and all that. Back then it was more just for
the right,
yes, exactly, for the right, for the bragging rights, right? What we say, but it's still good to mention. So then you're moving on, and now you're in your prime of your career. Now after that championship, you're in the prime of your career. You're playing, and you guys you're winning league because here what we have different from in Europe. I would like to be precise is that here we have league titles, and then we have the championship, which is one after the playoffs. Not like in Europe where you win the championship is won by the league title, and then you have a cup win. So you guys are winning the league titles, but you're not winning the playoffs, the championships like in 2004. Then we move on, and 2009. I think this is also maybe not as fun as 2004,
but red second place.
That's what I was about to say.
Very close. Just also because it was the first time in the stadium, our new stadium.
True. Yes, that's true.
And again, we had a fantastic group of guys as well. Even around the team, there was still Nick was around the team. Morrow was still there, and it was one of his last years. But we still had Rocco, we still had Adam around, we had Leduc, we had guys that really cared about this club, Ribeiro, Ali Gerba, who was on fire. Right after that, actually no, he wasn't 2009 Ali, but it's still that group of guys that cared about this club and hoping really, because we saw with the expansion of the new stadium, the fans were coming out. And we wanted to, really perform, try to win one championship. And for it to fall to us at home the way it did, it was just perfect, right?
Yeah, it's like it was written for a movie. Like,
we weren't. I mean, we didn't finish very high in the standings. We beat the higher seeded teams. Then we ended up playing Vancouver, who was the only team lower than us. And so they got the first game, then we got the final, because it was a 2-leg at that point.
Yeah, by that point, the final was still 2 legs.
Yeah. So we went to Vancouver. We were winning 3-1, I believe, or 2-1. And then, no, 3-2, excuse me, I believe. And then when we came here with the red card, we ended up running away with the game early, actually.
Because what's important also to point out is, in 2009, MLS was already around for a few years, and Toronto had already been in the MLS for 2 years. And you guys beat them in the Canadian Championship to after end up going to the Champions League.
CONCACAF, yes, that was
CONCACAF Champions League. Yeah,
that was 2008. That was another one of the best experiences as well in our franchise history, because we were at that point one of the underdogs. We did win all the 7 years Voyageurs Cup up until there, and then we started this new format with getting into CONCACAF Champions League, and so it was exciting for us because it says, okay, wow, finally now we have a chance that if we win, we could get more exposure.
Exactly.
We could prove to more and more eyeballs that that we're for real. And
how was that the experience of going to play in stadiums that are like we could say intimidating, like going to play Santos Laguna, like you guys ended up losing in the quarterfinals in Santos Laguna, and playing in these countries that we can call hostile sometimes, the fans, when you go to play these places.
Listen, I'll tell you a quick story. Because we played against Olympia as well, which is in Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
We played in Mexico, which was a tough place to play at Santos. But before at under 19 level, under 19 Canadian national team level, we played in Honduras
Mm.
against Honduras. And just to give you the idea, the visual of 40 to 50,000 stadium filled. People are throwing batteries at you.
Oh,
People are throwing bags of Ziploc bags of urine
oh my
on you.
God.
At one point, because Honduras has a big problem with their hydro, with electricity, so they have blackouts at certain points. So in one point of the game at night, at 8 o'clock kickoff, it was pitch dark. The lights went out in a 40,000 stadium filled. And everybody now, because it's a concrete seating, everybody's building fires in the stands. So you see all the stands on fire. You're waiting
Oh
on
my
the
God.
field, saying, "What do we?" So yeah,
What did we get ourselves into?
like I was lucky because I experienced it at that age. So when I got to the CONCACAF Champions League, when we played against Olympia, we played against Santos, and even Atlante, it wasn't as intimidating because I knew what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
for, I would say, 85% of the other players on the team, they didn't have they never had the chance to experience that.
Yeah.
Right?
So they were like, "Whoa, what is this?" You know? Yeah.
So it's I mean, that Santos game, if you come back down to it, is something obviously we want to forget, but we also need to remember
Of
because it
course.
was a fantastic run of what we did, and and we
I think
weren't
for a
prepared.
second for a second division team, which we can say the Impact was at that time,
Yeah, absolutely.
um,
Yeah,
going 5-4 on aggregate against Santos Laguna
yeah.
is an
It is
accomplishment in
something,
itself.
and I'll tell you this: I believe at the bottom of my heart, if we were in our full season, if we were in a normal season, we wouldn't have dropped, I think, the last 15, 20 minutes of that game.
It's
Our
true.
fitness level, because it was a February, we were off
Exactly. That's what I was
since
about to say.
October.
Yeah.
We did a
It
training
was off
camp in
season for you guys.
Italy. Yeah, we did a training camp in Italy. We had games. It's really not the same.
Yeah.
These guys were in their mid-season form. They came out the second half, and they were on a different level. They're
Do you
already at
think
a different level. They're
do
already
you,
at a different level. And
do you
then
think
with
that's yeah? Oh yes, already on the different level because they're already there.
yeah,
But it's like that's why we play the games. The games are meant to be played on the field, and
yeah,
anybody, like they say in football monikers, on any given Sunday, anybody can win. Right? The game
absolutely.
is played on the field.
Yeah.
But do you think that it's a disadvantage for North American teams the way the CONCACAF Champions League is placed at that time period, the elimination round?
Yeah, possibly yes. I believe, like for us, it was at that point. I don't know if anything changed now.
Because
I
it's
know
still coming
there's
off the off
also,
season.
but there's also more money involved now with the clubs. That if they do
Yes,
get to
it's
that
true.
point, they will maybe now start going to Mexico or start playing MLS teams in Arizona or
Yeah.
in Florida or in LA. So it's it's a bit disadvantage to us for sure at that point for us. Now maybe not as much, but yeah, I could see because we were gassed. Like we didn't have the legs, we didn't have the stamina to keep up. We didn't have that second wind coming our
Yeah,
back.
that's it.
And we found there was holes everywhere on the field.
Hmm.
If it's just one guy having a tough time, that's one thing. You could isolate the group, could
Yeah.
isolate and protect. But when there's pockets and pockets, and it just became
And
too easy for them.
and you must feel it as the game is going on that you're starting to have less of that energy
Yeah,
moving on. You're trying to hold on, then you start playing on your heels,
yeah,
then you start trying to defend a bit more, and then that's when
yeah. And
things
then
start breaking down.
a lot of time it was also mistakes from us. The last goal they scored, we had the ball at a point on the left side. Instead of coming across with a simple pass, they tried to make. Maybe it was a missed pass, or he tried to make a difficult pass.
Mm,
If they cut it off, there
yeah.
was three guys out of the play on a counterattack. So these are things that we would possibly not do when you're in form. You're smarter, you're confident on the ball, you're healthy.
Yeah.
If somebody comes next to you, you don't feel wobbly legs. So that had everything to do with that game, and just that fitness led to bad decisions in that game that led to an ultimate disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a fun. Even as a fan, that was like a
Yeah.
great experience for me following that team as a fan.
Yeah.
was really galvanizing, and I think that's where I built my strong identity behind the Impact was there, But this
Yeah.
team that nobody saw going as far as they did, it really got me as a fan behind them.
Yeah, and I believe a lot of people would say that it was it put us on the map. It put Montreal on the
Hmm.
map for soccer. It's like no, we're good too. We could play with the best of them. Yeah, we're behind a little bit, but we're not too far off.
Yeah, it gives hope also for future,
Yeah,
like the Impact did, later on when they were already in the MLS. They ended up making the final of the Champions League,
absolutely. Yeah,
uh, and maybe that helped them reach the final. That experience that you guys
absolutely.
gave them, so that's interesting for them. And oh my God, if one day, uh, this team or any other team from the MLS, would be able to one day try to reach the World Cup of Clubs and play at the
Yeah,
UEFA Champions League winners, that would
yeah,
be even more exposure and even greater
exactly.
for our game here.
And look, that's the whole point of all this. Is to keep growing.
Hmm.
Yeah, we all know the reality of it. The culture here is not as easy as a culture in Europe or in South America per se. That soccer is number one. Soccer is king.
Yeah,
Whereas here in North America, there's three, four other sports that have a bigger concentrate.
yeah. What they call the four North American sports that they
Yeah.
call. Yeah,
So yeah, it's and we're getting there because
yeah,
we have the athletes. You know what? Like you can't say Canada and the U.S. don't have probably great athletes. To our structure, our builds. We come from a good nations that we have medicine and people are healthy and strong and vitamins and could afford good food. So
and we have the pool of players too, because I
yeah,
read this stat not too long ago. More kids now play soccer than they play hockey.
yeah,
Also,
yeah,
it's much easier, much less expensive,
yeah,
more affordable for parents to send their kids
yeah,
to play. So the pool of players there. Now we just need to develop them the
yeah.
right way. That's where
Yeah,
we.
exactly, and that's always an issue. Great leaps have been taken
Mhm.
to reach where we are now, but there's also a lot more to do. It's always starting at the grassroots level.
Yeah, that's where you build it.
Growing up, and still to this day, there's coaches going into the club teams and they're volunteers, right? Obviously, they're
Mhm.
volunteers, but some of them haven't played soccer or they
Yeah.
just need a parent to watch the kids.
Yes.
So already there, if you could start putting at least qualified people who've played the game, who know how to teach basic things to the kids, so they could get started earlier, so they could start enjoying the game earlier.
Yeah.
Because when I started, it was just my coach was my dad. I was like
Mhm.
actually Gerardo to start. So we just learned from him, and thank
Yeah.
God these guys played soccer.
Yeah.
Or else,
That a
because
little basis. Yeah.
that's the only place that we would play soccer. Like our friends around the house would maybe play street hockey,
Yeah.
football. It was rare that we played soccer together. So
Yeah.
the only soccer you got was with the team.
Yeah.
And imagine if the guy coaching the team is not as knowledgeable as anybody else.
Well, we're
So
starting to see that more and more coaches now from here, in our development system, are actually taking the courses.
yeah,
Obviously, the
yeah,
internet has helped a lot with that,
yeah,
being able to take the UEFA courses for
yeah,
coaching. And now we're starting to see a real, basis in development, in
yeah.
coaching, where we're actually coaching the right way, the way it's
Absolutely.
supposed to be coached, the game.
Yes, I agree. And I was a part of actually a few. Once I retired, I got involved at Montreal Soccer, which is
Hmm.
in Laval. I also helped out in RDP, and you see how, and with the region in Laval, working with Valerio as well while I was in Laval, you see how much emphasis was going on back then on putting the right education in place for specific age groups at certain levels. It became mandatory, so
I see.
it was important, and it some people also get refiltered back into the system that way. So say
Yeah.
you do a generation with your kid, and then okay, it goes off to the next team. You can stay involved in the club and start out even younger, age group with so much experience under your belt. So it's always going to hopefully get back in the cycle and always get better as well.
Yeah, and not to mention, like I had Sandro on another podcast, and the job that he did for in those
Yeah,
10 years that he was at l'Étoile de l'Est in Laval
yeah,
was
fantastic job.
was great. Yeah, it was very helpful, and
Yeah.
thank God that somebody like Gary Gall and forming the Manic saw that experience and saw that potential in Sandro to call him in to be technical director of the U15 U19 program at the Manic, which is very important for our development.
No, absolutely. We need to give our kids options. There's too many kids now playing to say that there's not enough options. You know, we have the guys. There's not just Sandro. There's tons of guys out there.
Oh, there's tons of guys. I'm forgetting a lot of them for sure.
There's so many guys still working in the which we need it. You know, you need quality.
We need passionate guys coaching, teaching these kids the passion of soccer.
Right way, that have been through it. You know, that build people's character as well, because nothing in life is given to you. It was extremely hard to get to this point. For players to succeed at that point is still extremely hard. So it's just passing it on to the young kids and saying, look, if this is the option you want, because nobody's forcing kids to become professional players. Yeah. We want you to enjoy the sports. But if there is that aspiration to get to the next level, then there's finally, I believe, multiple tools out there, not just Sandro's camps, not just other people's camps. At least like everybody's kind of coming from the same starting point, and we're all branching out and covering the province and covering
exactly.
Our
and whatever fits the kid or the player better. Sometimes a certain program will fit him better, or for his development growth, how he's going, maybe will fit better than another one. And it's just seeing what's best for you at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. And at certain points, you have to talk to your kids and say, what do you really want out of this game? Are we pushing it too much? Because a lot of kids get turned off as well, right? They get pushed. They want to hang out with their friends at a certain age, and maybe it's not really what they want to do, even though they have the talent. And
then they create a certain resentment.
So resentment, and I've seen that as well while I was coaching a little bit. That certain guys had talent. It was unbelievable compared to my days of guys, but they were it wasn't their main focus.
Yeah.
You know, so that's also another point. Do you waste time with people like that, or do you try to groom other people that are more passionate? There's always a balance. And
that's the kind of dilemma you have to fight between. Yeah. So maybe you can tell the kids nowadays, that 15, 16-year-old kids that are interested in taking that extra step to try to make it. Could you tell us a bit about the hard work it takes, like outside of practices with the teams, but like the work you got to put in on the side, the hustle you got to do?
Yeah, you need to. Like you don't play. I tell every kid this: you don't play enough soccer. Like you never will. Compared to other kids in other countries, how did the Didier Drogba's, how did the Henrys, how did the Zidanes of the world, Ronaldo's come about, the Messis? They played soccer. They had a ball all the time. You know, so if you think a young kid today who's playing U10 soccer during the winter time, even, or let's say in the summertime, which you're going to play more soccer in the summertime. So in the summertime, if you're at a higher level, you're at 3 times a week on the field. So that means an hour and a half. So that's 3 to 4.5 hours a week on a soccer field.
That's enough.
Pretty much all you get. So how is that enough? You know, I would be in my garage, just touching the ball, playing with my left foot, playing with my right foot, hitting against the garage. Outside, when it was nicer, I was juggling, hitting against the wall, which I find is a fantastic technique for individual development.
Oh yes,
is because all a kid needs is a ball and a wall.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just play the ball to the wall. You're controlling.
Your reaction time, everything. Yeah.
You know, you could work on anything. And back then, that's what I was doing. When I had time, I'd fool around in the backyard, my garage, the front of my house, doing throw-ins to see if I could hit a certain wall
Wow.
of my house from far. Just envisioning things and repeating and repeating and repeating. And that's the only way to get better in anything. You want to be the
Visualizing
best.
is important, no? Like you just mentioned, visualizing things, like
Yes. Yeah.
putting them in your head that this is
Yeah.
what
See,
this is what's going
trying
to go
trying to
on.
see where you want to be. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I want to be doing this is what I said to myself. I want to
Hmm.
be doing this. And then, so if I would watch a soccer game at the bar, like back then, back in the day, we're going with my dad, I'd see, I used to love Franco Baresi because
Mm.
I would see him play differently than the others. And I would say, okay, wow, look, he just takes that one touch and he finds space and he's so calm with the ball. And so you just learn and you kind of take what's good for you.
Hmm.
You take bits and pieces from everything, and if you want to grow, you will grow.
What's your you mentioned makes me think about something. What's your when you were growing up, late teenager, developing and everything, what was a player that you looked up to as in your position that you modeled, that you wanted to model, that you really like
Yeah, I was.
idolized?
Yeah, I was like I said, Franco Baresi. He
Hmm.
was the all-time sweeper for me. He played with AC Milan. He was the guy I would look to the most. Paulo Maldini as
Yeah.
well, because I kind of what it's. I liked other players as well, attacking players. I loved Roberto Donadoni. Like I
Hmm.
never saw that guy lose a ball when I used to go watch him. So I had like took bits and pieces from everyone, right? Because as a kid, I loved the forwards, but once I hit about 15 years old, 16, I kind of knew I was going to be a defender. So I
Mm.
started studying a little more the defending aspects, the defenders of the world, the Jan Stams of the world.
Yeah.
Just finding different qualities out of everyone and trying to see where I could put them into my game.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. Okay, so let's get back into the final phase, basically, of your playing career. So after coming back from that Champions League stint with the Impact, you you get called. Well, I don't know if it's right away after, but it must be. I think it's 2009, maybe 2010,
Yeah,
when you get asked to become captain of the Montreal Impact.
yeah.
How was that also, like from being called to represent your country and now being to be the leader of your team? That must be also a proud moment also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Extremely proud moment. Um, it was also, a build up over the years of kind of being the next in line. Like I was
Mhm.
talking about earlier about learning to pay your dues.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was other guys ahead of me. Moro was there ahead of me. I always knew that he'd be my captain as long as he's playing, and I never wanted to I never even tried to force that issue. Like that's the respect we all had for each other.
Hmm.
Like, and the people that had respect for me because they kind of knew that no, Neville's next in line.
Next in line. Yeah.
Okay, because he's the one who did so much. He did this, and then if I got hurt, God forbid, there was somebody else next in line who
Hmm.
deserved it. Okay, so there was guys like Adam Brad. Like
Yeah.
so, it was just a natural evolution to that point. Extremely gratifying. It kind of made me look at things a little deeper.
Okay.
As a captain, you feel more responsibility.
Yeah.
Even as if I was an assistant captain the years before, you don't have that responsibility as hey guys, okay, we're having a meeting today. It's enough. You know,
Like you had a horrible first half.
yeah,
At halftime,
yeah.
it's up to you
Yeah,
to
start
get the
sparking
guys
some
going again,
things,
right?
start talking to guys. Or I remember at a point at the beginning, we weren't doing very well. And actually, I got called out by Joey, and some names got called out that maybe it wasn't a great decision.
Mm.
But in fact, it was actually a kind of a extremely new team put together. We weren't winning at the beginning. And then since that call out, we actually turned it around and we were a point away of making the playoffs where we should have never even been in the
In that
conversation.
position, yeah.
So, and that again, that's a learning experience, right? You're a new captain. I had meetings. I don't know really what else to do, but to keep harping on the same message and sticking together and staying positive and that's the only way things will turn around because if things would the finger pointing would have been internal within our dressing room, it would have been a disaster.
But
Uh,
do teammates look at you differently when you become a captain?
yeah,
Does that relationship change a
yeah,
bit?
yeah, I believe so. I believe a little bit. I believe they got to be more careful. They were a bit more worried.
Mm-hmm.
That you never know. He's the
Yeah.
captain. You never know when he's thinking that guy.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. You
yeah,
could just
so,
assume.
yeah. So like, I could go to the coach say something about a certain player, and I'm sure he'll take it very seriously.
Mm,
So yeah,
yeah.
you gain that respect again, is what I said. So yeah, you do get a different label to you, but if you're the same guy, like Moro was the same guy, Nick was the same guy, John was the same guy,
Mm,
captain or no captain,
yeah.
you know your responsibility, you know your role in the team, you know how important the team is to you and everybody else. So you just keep those ideas and mindset with you, and other things just kind of fall into place
Fall
really.
into place. Yeah. But in John's case, not only was he your captain, but if I'm not mistaken, he ended up coaching
Yeah,
your team too, right? Yeah.
yeah. He coached us the years that we won the Champions League.
Oh,
Yeah, that was again another fun year because we had a good coach. He understood the game very well. He understood the players he had because he knew most of us as well for many years. Um, it was unfortunate the year after that once we didn't start well. The professional sports,
you
curse
have
is you
you
get
have a
you
responsibility
gotta
to
go.
win, and yeah,
Yeah, and your stint isn't as long as maybe it should have been.
yeah.
But
Especially here in Montreal in our market.
yeah, yeah, exactly. People want to win, and which is okay, but you need to build a culture as well. You know,
Yeah.
the culture we built in Montreal over the 16 years that I played there was all from Montreal guys. Nick DeSantis, Mauro Biello, Johnny Mianis, Willie Dolescat, Pat Diot, Grant Needham, Adam Braz, Gabe Gervais, Pat Leduc, Bernice Bernier. Like, we all kind of built it all up,
Yeah.
right? So now you're coming with a new coach. He has to build that up,
Yeah.
right? So like, especially now in the MLS, a new coach comes in, he has to build that up. So if a coach is in and out every year and a half, 2 years, how can you build, an identity of who you really are? So that's why I'm
Mm.
kind of very glad right now that Wilford's in place with Jason as well is still there. That you still have that culture, that Montreal culture, to kind of grow with the same club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would have been great if Morrow would have still been there. I think he did great. Maybe he will
I
come
think he
back
did
one day.
too.
So hopefully,
You need that
the guys
stability.
guys gain experience somewhere else and hopefully get filtered back here. Guys like
Yeah.
Mark Dos Santos,
I was gonna say Mark Dos Santos. Yeah.
John, Pat Bernier. Who knows? He's doing TV now, but maybe he'll get back involved coaching. So you
No,
never
there's
know.
some possibilities there,
Yeah,
but it must have been kind of awkward. Maybe the last two seasons in USL, knowing that the team is getting ready to move on to MLS, so
yeah,
you're kind of in a in between two kind of
yeah,
phase. You don't
definitely.
know where well, you know where the team is going, but you don't
Yeah.
you don't know how to approach it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that was the last 2 years, 2010 and 11, were the most awkward. I'll
Mm,
put it that way. Meaning a lot of new players coming in, only envisioning being around for
for the
the MLS
MLS.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, we felt that in 2010. I think that's what made us have a very poor start to the 2010 season. Uh, then kind of getting back, we did end up doing well that season, but you did feel it. Absolutely. I'm not going to name names, but
No.
guys were starting to get out of the game. Guys like Adam Braz, Sandro wasn't there anymore. Some guys were, Moro was stepping down. Other people were thinking of their future.
Hmm.
You could see it, and these new guys were just looking to stay around for MLS. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was disappointing, I would say, because as a player, you want that family feeling as a team. You know, you
Yeah.
go to war with these guys, and those are the most fun. You know, like those are the days that really mean something to you, even after your career. Like, I could close my eyes at night before bed and think of certain moments with certain teams in a heartbeat. I think about them over and over again because they comfort me. You know, they're great times. So,
And then, so MLS comes, you decide to retire, and they call you up. I think it was a year later, right? And you and Gab Gervais
yeah,
to be the first, the inaugural pair inductees to their Wall of Fame, which is what the Impact is having for the type of what the Canadians do of retiring the jersey, right? It's that
yeah,
same feel.
yeah.
How was that to come back and go to Saputo Stadium and be honored like that? That must have been fun too.
Yeah, a lot of fun. It was actually important for me just for the fact
For,
because I didn't have kids when I was playing. I got married at 35 at the end of my career. My kids never saw me play. They actually saw me play a couple of years ago now when we had that friendly game, the legend
yes.
game against Brazil. Uh, but until then, they never saw the soccer environment I was always in. Like
Mm-mm.
it's a completely new world for them.
Yeah, yeah.
So to get called out to the stadium, for them to
After
walk
being
on,
away from the team for a while, that's on
yeah,
top of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and to walk onto the field with my kids, it was an extremely special feeling to see that they started recognizing having a club, a fan club, not just a fan club. You know, the temple of that enemy, like people who have
Yeah.
done work, not just players. It shouldn't just be players. It should be, you know, people who work in the office,
Yeah.
the media people that were back, like
Yes.
Randy Tiemann, Randy Phillips, guys like that.
Rick Moffat. Yeah.
Yeah, guys that even the French guys, Martin Smith. There's so many of them that came came with us to cities when it was nothing, right?
Yeah.
And following us and building up the sport.
True.
So it was nice to be. It wasn't important to be the first one. It's just important to be recognized and maybe have a tradition that people could say, okay, this is how it got started. This is how it, and this is how it continues. Um,
Because
like maybe because
to be
with all
honest
the
with you,
other guys
Nevio,
that
I just want to say this because I think it's important because now the way the structure of the MLS is and the the way the way players are being developed in the academy or getting players and everything, it's going to be very hard. And I might be wrong, but
yeah, no,
it'll
it
be
is.
very hard to get a player to play 8,700 minutes for one team.
Yeah, yeah, extremely hard.
So
Yeah, and also
it's not because I'm talking to you that I'm saying this. It's just what I
no,
see. I see it very hard somebody accomplishing that again.
yes, I know, but yes, I agree because especially now that even if you are that good, maybe you're gonna end up going somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but there are also guys that maybe deserve to be there before me. You know what I mean? Like just because they started making criteria because guys are still working in the team. They
Yeah,
started
it's a bit weird that criteria,
yeah,
to be honest with you.
trying to be politically correct, I
Yeah.
guess, or whatnot. But
Yeah.
I'm just happy there's something to build on.
Yeah.
Last 2 years ago, I think they put Greg Sutton.
Yes, he's the third member. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing who the next guys are because it wasn't just 3, 4, or 5 guys.
Oh no.
It was a group of 50, you know, over the years in the office, in the media. You could even look to you guys, the fans, the fan
Yeah.
clubs, and how you've grown and pushed the envelope. And
Oh
so,
yes, because whether they like it or not, or they want them to be a part of the identity of the team,
yeah,
the fans, especially the first group of ultras that are
yeah,
still around,
yeah.
these guys have been around forever, and they deserve some recognition at some point also.
Absolutely, absolutely, and this is what we're doing it for the fans. This
Yeah,
is what we did it for. Like, you know, it has to be looked at that way. It's a cultural thing. It's not one owner just trying to make money off soccer. You
yeah.
know, we could never look at it like that because
Hmm.
it's going to fail. So yeah, it's at least nice to start opening the doors and getting a sense of heritage, right? You go to the Canadians probably have it. They have golf
Oh
tournaments
yeah.
every year of old alumni coming in. And
They used to have, remember back in our day when we were younger, they used to have the softball tournaments in the summer
yeah,
for the Canadians players.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
important to be part of the community, to create
Be
that
a
that
part
that
of the
that
history.
link.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be a part of the history because a guy like you that came to watch our games as a kid, you're watching it now and you're watching the next 20 years. You could come to these events and just feel at home, right?
Yeah.
It's what we all are passionate about.
We did
Everybody's
our
passionate
part
about
too. Yeah.
certain things. This is our sport, right?
Yeah. Very, very, very good. I'm loving our conversation. So we've already been on for an hour, so I'm just gonna end it. But
Okay.
before we end it, I'd like to do a type of rapid fire about questions of soccer, but in general, right?
Okay.
So first of all, we can't leave without talking about your opinions on the Super League, the European Super League.
Don't like it. I don't
The-
like it just because you're 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 just taking out the money. Like
Mhm.
we already have the Champions League. That shows that caliber, the highest caliber. Um, you need a bit of unexpectedness. I think it would start hindering on the lower teams in the division that
Oh
don't get
yeah.
as much exposure. Because once you're playing the higher team, that's when you get exposure. I don't like it.
And
No,
it gives an incentive to the smaller clubs because
because they
when
can
you're fighting
reset.
for that spot in the Champions League,
Yeah,
it's huge for a small club to
yeah,
get to make the Champions League, not only for exposure and for prestige, but
yeah,
for money financially too.
yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
and if you close that market off,
Yeah.
obviously champion they say, oh, but Champions League will continue. Yes, but where's all the TV money going to go to?
No,
All the
exactly,
TV money is going to go to those 12 big clubs.
exactly.
And what does a Tottenham
Yeah,
that hasn't made Champions League or not even close this year to making Champions League deserve to be in that tournament, while a
yeah.
Leicester City or something like that
No, because
is
they're
not
paying
there?
and they're buying into it. I really don't like it. And again, there was a lot of backlash all across the world. All
Yeah, there
the
was.
ex-professional players are like, no, this can't do this. You're like just like catering to the rich, right? Just
Yeah,
let them
it's a
do what
money
they
grab.
want. No,
We
no,
agree,
I
it's
don't
a
like
money
it.
grab. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't
You
like it
want
like that.
so okay, we're on the same page for that. No to the Super League.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to get into relegation promotion in North America. Are you for or against it?
Uh, I have to be against it because of the capacity. Meaning because I don't think like if Quebec City had a team, and they win the championship, they could support a team in MLS.
Yeah,
Like
that's
the
it. That's the
financial,
question.
if you're talking about the CPL with the USL, those kind of levels,
Okay, at that
then
second
yes,
tier.
yeah. But as a MLS, I don't think so because I think the financial differences are way too great. From USL to jump to MLS, you're talking over $100 million difference.
Yeah, yeah. Like
So
I can't see a team like Atlanta United paying almost 500 million to come into the league and
yeah,
then
and
be
then get relegated
yeah.
to USL. No, and exactly like a team like Rochester, that or Richmond, Virginia, that win the league. How could they support it's a small town.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Basically, that's what it is. Yeah.
it's a small town, and it's not as if we're in Europe where soccer is king, right?
Mm.
That okay, you have a small town, but everybody in that small town is going to push
Everybody
to
goes to the
support
games.
soccer.
Everybody's watching. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in Rochester or in Richmond, they have a great team. They won the league, but the population is playing football, baseball,
Yeah.
basketball. They're in different things, track and field, and so it's just all over the place. You can't support that.
Yeah, financially you can't support you can't support it, and also prestige wise, like
Yeah,
you say, Richmond or Rochester, their market is based on to have 8,000, ten
exactly.
thousand people in their stadium.
That's
If you
exactly.
force them to go to MLS and they can't get 15,000 people in their stadium. They're gonna have a hard time competing.
They'll never survive, and then the league is going to have to compensate. And the league will never survive if they have enough
Yeah.
guys like this. So no,
And I,
it's
and I think here in North America, we're more turned to, we want equilibrium. We want balanced leagues. We want competitive leagues. We don't have like the top, like in Portugal, you have the top 3 teams and then you have the rest, right?
exactly.
We don't have that here. We like to see the last place team like beat the first place team sometimes. We like the underdog story here in North America.
Yeah.
But I like the idea. I had never heard it before, but I like the idea. Maybe on a second tier, we can introduce that relegation promotion, because I do believe there is an advantage to it.
Yes, you want incentive for the players to do well. You can put money behind it. It's absolutely the right way to push excellence. Right?
Exactly.
To try to find the best, or else it just becomes stagnant. It just becomes, okay, I'm getting my paycheck, I'm playing. But if you're getting your paycheck and if you finish last place, you're not getting your paycheck because you're getting demoted, then people start thinking differently, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
You have to, definitely, especially in pro sports, find a way to get that regulation. Because
MLS can't also, because they keep wanting to expand also, and they can't end up having 30 some odd teams also at the same time, unless they go the way of maybe Major League Baseball, where you have 2 distinct leagues, maybe the West and the East.
Listen, maybe when you get to enough teams in the MLS, maybe to 40, then you can make 2 groups.
Yeah,
you make your Division 1, Division 2 MLS.
Yeah, that would be an option to look for. So that's interesting in the years to come to see where that is going.
Yeah.
Okay, and my last subject I'd like to talk on, we cannot escape from talking about this as a former player, is the rebranding of the Montreal Impact into the CF Montreal. First, the name. I want to touch on the name, just the name. Before we go into the logo, just want to talk about the name. Do you think that changing it to a more soccer-friendly name was the right way to go?
The easiest answer for me would be no comment. Right? But I'm gonna open up to you. They should have never, in my opinion, touched anything. They should have not touched the name. Like, okay, you asked me the question. Okay, do you like the name, or what should it have been? I can't even answer that because it shouldn't have ever changed.
Yeah.
In my mind, did it need a kick in the butt? Did the franchise need a kick in the butt? Yes, it did. It needed a wake up call. The new branding is definitely a way to do that. It's maybe a corporate way to do that. Seeing the facts and figures and the stats and the numbers and the past consensuses and the surveys and all of that. But again, I resort back to I believe I spoke to you about this. After 25 years of the Montreal Canadiens, after the first 25 years of their existence, they say to everybody, okay, we're changing our name. It would be a shame, that we wouldn't have the Montreal Canadiens right now. And I think that's what happened is it is a kind of a shame that we don't have the Montreal Impact anymore.
Yeah.
For what people have, we started from scratch. They built this team. They built the name. A lot of people had a great attachment to this team.
Yeah, of course.
And to not even, I don't know, it was also kind of like put out in surprise, I think. Like, not too many people knew about it. Not too many people were maybe consulted about it. It was the people in charge, and that's it. Or the league, or I'm not sure who it was.
A marketing team around the table, basically.
Yeah.
Brainstorming and decided this.
Any player that played the game, they're all going to tell you, we don't like it. I'm going to tell you, I don't like it, and also I don't think they needed to do it. I really don't think they needed to do it. I think they needed to have a better product on the field. They were struggling with that, struggling with consistency in coaching, struggling with the consistency of having an identity. of getting the fans in and being relatable. But again, that's also the bigger market, right? The bigger market is you're bringing in bigger guys for 1 year, maybe 2 years, and they're gone. You
Hmm.
know, you're trying to win and they're gone.
Yeah,
You're not building a community anymore. You're
exactly.
trying to build winners.
Yeah.
So that kind of hurt the team, and all those things maybe pushed them to feel that okay, our only way out is to rebrand. And
Hmm. Yeah.
they were losing a lot of revenue, and how to recuperate revenue. Maybe an idea. Maybe they see it in their stats and their surveys, but as a Montrealer, as an ex-player, as a fan of the game, I really, really do not.
You feel like that maybe they're not erasing, but putting aside all that history that the
Yeah,
club has. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there was the Manic back in the day,
Yeah. Manic, the Supra.
which was fantastic, but it died.
Hmm.
And now you don't hear about the Manic days
Exactly.
anymore.
Yeah.
You don't see any clips. You don't meet people from the Manic anymore.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
kind
true.
of what it feels like. Like the impact is dead. Oh, I remember those days. Yes, yes, those were the days. But
Yeah.
it's as
Yeah.
if all the new Google searches will all take over, right? CF Montreal.
I could see. I've changed my mind. I know I told you that maybe I liked the logo not as much, but the name change I thought was
It was,
inevitable. But I
yeah,
think now, after a bit being back and watching it and thinking about it, I think that maybe they could have found a way to um, more soccerize, let's say, if that's a
yeah.
word, the name without changing it completely.
No,
You know,
exactly,
you keep
exactly.
the name
Have
Impact or FC or CF, but
yeah,
Impact, you know,
an
uh,
impact. Maybe
to keep
just
that
in the
history.
logo, maybe in the
Yes.
logo, or
Or
like
in the
some
logo,
type
something, yes.
yeah, yeah. But again, who are we to sit
Yeah,
and tell you
exactly.
that?
We're just here to
We're not making
criticize.
millions of dollars. We're not losing millions of dollars.
No, no,
So again,
that's also true.
you have to just give credit to what the ownership is trying to do, is trying to make things better. Um, Again, I just don't like it.
And we can't say he's had it easy since he's been
No,
owner, financially at least wise
yeah,
towards this team.
yeah,
So to have an owner that's willing to lose that much money and stay on and
yeah.
still support this team, uh, uh,
Well,
it's
and
still.
I'm sure it cut through Joey like a knife
Oh
to
yeah,
see to lose the Impact name.
because he looks like a very proud guy. So
Oh yeah,
to having to do that must have been hard for him.
he built this team, right?
Yeah,
He
it's his
was
baby. Yeah.
behind the scenes on everything. He built the team. He built the name. I'm sure it killed him to say, "Oh no, we have to go in a different direction
Hmm.
because our revenues aren't matching the." So, like, I understand it. I understand it completely. But I don't like it.
Yeah. You're not the only one. Trust
It's
me.
not going to
I,
change.
I've had so many conversations with friends,
Yeah.
and some of them really don't like it. That
Yeah, it's
the
like you
stuff they
lost your
say I
last
cannot
30
repeat
years.
here.
It's like you lost your last 30 years, right? And all your
Yeah,
memories.
yeah.
It's
But I'll give them credit on this. Is I like that the last 2 years they've decided to leave that mentality of getting players towards the end of their careers
yeah,
and coming more to like sell tickets and jerseys
yeah,
and stuff, and now we're going more into the identity of forming players
yeah,
or buying them young, so then you have a capacity of being
yeah,
able to sell them also,
yeah,
which MLS should concentrate on that,
yeah,
on buying players and not too expensive from South America
yeah.
or from
Build
second
build their
divisions in
name,
Europe,
have the
build them
marketing
up and then
for it.
sell them again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then sell them at a good profit.
at a
Absolutely.
profit. Exactly,
Yeah, and
exactly.
like you see our team now, like it's doing very well.
Yeah,
And you see they're younger guys, they're
yeah.
guys that they got in from Scandinavia,
Have
from
something to
Italy.
prove.
Yeah, something to prove, and then that's soccer.
Yeah,
You can't just be complacent.
yeah.
Complacency is not going to bring you anywhere.
No,
So yeah,
and
it's
don't get me wrong. I loved that year, that first year Drogba came, and
yeah,
it was amazing for soccer in Montreal.
yeah,
The atmosphere at the stadium was amazing.
electric. Yeah,
The goals he was scoring day
yeah,
in day out were
yeah,
amazing. But in the long term,
yeah,
what we want for the future of this team, I prefer this approach.
yeah. No, I do as well, and it's yeah, it builds good habits for the future players coming in. It's and again, you're fun to watch. Like
Yeah.
they are a lot better to watch this
Yeah.
year.
True.
A lot more dynamic, a lot quicker, a lot. It's we're heading in a good direction. I'm glad to see it because we had a few ups and downs over the years.
And these players look like they like to play for Nancy, so that's also good. And
Yeah,
they want to
because
perform for him.
oh, for sure. He's not a name that played. He's not Thierry Henry. He's
Mm-hmm.
not Remy Gard that played
Yeah.
at high levels. Schellenbaum.
Shalabam, yeah.
So
Yep.
it's hard. Like even for Morrow, but when the guys are from here or they know the system here, they feed off the passion.
Yeah.
Okay, so like when Morrow did well here, it's because the guys I'm sure fed off him.
Yeah.
Right, and they
Yeah.
know who he is, and so I think the guys are rallying around Will and Jay and Simon, and so it's good. It's a good. It's a really good time right now we're having with a younger mix of guys, and the respect is there, and everybody has something to prove.
Yeah.
Montreal has a lot to prove. They
It's
have
it's interesting, and the fact that they have to play away from home in Florida. Like the other day, you're playing a home game in the stadium of your opponents.
Yeah.
And you end up winning the game 2-0 against Miami. So
Yeah, exactly.
so
No,
that's galvanizing also for them,
oh, for
It's
sure.
like them against the world.
Yeah, it is. At a certain point, it is. It might take a toll on them too.
Yes,
Be
physically,
careful.
yeah.
So but it is definitely a factor for them to come together quicker, and because at the end of the day, you're gonna spend more time with your team than your real family.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you guys are all coming together, a bunch of young guys, you get along, you go out together, you hang out together. You're not going out now, but
Yeah.
trying to hang out as much as you can together. It's important for championship teams.
And I'm definitely interested in seeing where they can go in this season. It's very interesting for me to watch.
It looks promising and exciting. Yeah.
And fun. All right, Nevio, I appreciate so much you coming on. Thank you so much. This was amazing. It was a fire conversation.
My pleasure, man.
I hope the audience enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks a lot, Nevio. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
See you guys.